everyone, and welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking about Not What We Pictured by Becca Kinzer. So, this one is a contemporary romance, it's a rom com, and it fits within the Christian fiction category, and it's a standalone story. So, why did I want to read this one? Well, I've enjoyed reading books by Becca in the past, including my favourite one, which would be Dear Henry, Love Edith, and also Love in Tandem and First Love, Second Draft. And you can find my book recommendations for these books at my blog at narelleatkins.com. And you can find that via a link in the show notes. And I've also recorded episode 13 for First Love, Second Draft, which you can find if you look up the playlist at your podcasting app or at YouTube. So I'm going to add my usual disclaimer and say many thanks to the publisher who provided an advance reader copy, and all the opinions that I express in this episode are completely my own. Now, I'm very excited to share that I've got a giveaway of one paperback copy for a reader with a USA mailing address, and I'll have more details on how to enter the giveaway at the end of the episode. So let's talk about the book. Not What We Pictured by Becca Kinzer is set in small towns, and we start in Nebraska and we end up in Tennessee. And we have a number of romance and rom-com tropes in this one. So we have what I call the failed wedding proposal trope, because there's a few failures relating to side characters in this one. We also have a little bit of fake dating at different times. We have mistaken identity more than once. We have miscommunications and misunderstandings, especially in relation to the ensemble cast of quirky side characters who were quite ridiculous at different times. We have our main characters who are from different worlds. One's from the East Coast and the other lives out west in the US. And we also have a little bit of a twist on the enemies to love trope after the meet cute, and I'll explain how that works in a minute. So anyway, let's talk about the first lines in the book. And I've got two first lines because the second line makes a lot more sense if you put it with the first line. And here it is. You want the facts? Okay, well, first off, I didn't kiss him. So that's a cracker of an opening couple of lines. And of course, there is some kissing somewhere, and we'll get to that in a minute. And so in chapter one, we meet McKenna, and we're 4 days into the future. So chapter two actually starts 4 days in the past before we hear this opening line. And so I'll introduce you to McKenna. So she's 30 years old, and she's a photographer in her small town in Nebraska. And she's really bored with her job. Her boss won't do any wedding photography, and that's McKenna's passion and what she actually wants to do for a career. And so she's stuck in Nebraska. And the main reason she's stuck there is she made a dying wish to her mother and this is in relation to her younger sister. So her younger sister's 8 years younger. There's quite an age gap. And she needs her younger sister to get married and settle down so that McKenna feels like she has the freedom to leave their small town and spread her wings and live her life. And as I said, her dream job is to do wedding photography. And there's an opportunity in LA for her to become a wedding photographer that's just opened up when the story opens. And she's like, okay, I'd really love to go to LA and do this job, but I've just got to get my little sister engaged and married before I can get this all organized. So anyway, I'll introduce you to Nate. So he's our hero, and he's the same age as McKenna, and he's a teacher and also a poet. And he's from Tennessee originally, but his most recent location is New York City. He's been in Brooklyn, and he's about to start his summer vacation and then move to Buffalo, New York, because he's finished his PhD. And so he's going to be working at a college there. So at the start of the story, we meet him after he's been to a funeral. So his mentor, who was like a father to him, has passed away, and he's traveled to Nebraska to see him. And Nate's got a shocker of a headache. He's feeling really sleepy. So what he's done is he's pulled over in a rest area, which is what a sensible, normal person will do if they're tired. They don't stay on the road and get themselves into trouble. And he's found this park bench by the river, and he's decided that he's going to have a nap to sleep off his headache so that he can continue his journey to the airport to fly to his mother in Tennessee later that day. And his mother has a B&B there, and that's where he grew up. So let's talk about the meet cute. So we'll go back to McKenna. And so she's setting up a wedding proposal location for her sister's boyfriend so that the sister's boyfriend can propose to her sister, which means that they will get married and McKenna can leave the small town. So that's all going well until she turns up and discovers that there is this strange man lying on the park bench. And this park bench isn't just any park bench, it's the park bench that her sister and the boyfriend had their first kiss. So she can't just do a mad scramble relocation. And it's also a surprise proposal, and it's also one of a number of failures. So there's been attempts for her to work with the sister's boyfriend to try and set up the perfect surprise proposal that have failed in the past, and she's desperate for this situation not to fail. So this leads to a really awkward, embarrassing, and laugh out hilarious meet cute that ends in complete and utter disaster with some characters that actually suffer some minor injuries, and basically the wedding proposal fails and we're in a much worse situation than we were at the beginning of this particular chapter. So there are a number of problems in this story, and the failed wedding proposal is one of them because that means that McKenna can't go and start her dream job in Los Angeles. And the next thing that is a bigger disaster than the other times is that the ring is now lost. And this is an heirloom engagement ring that belonged to McKenna's mother that was promised to go to the younger sister. And we discover that it ended up in Nate's luggage, and Nate's luggage has also gone missing. So it's just one mishap after another, which means that McKenna is on a mission to find Nate and to track him down, which is another series of mishaps and misadventure that happens with that. And she ends up having to follow him to Tennessee to get the ring back. And then, of course, his luggage is missing. And so there's a delay with how that process can actually happen. So there are so many problems in this book. McKenna's stuck and she needs this wedding proposal to happen. And of course, the sister's boyfriend's a bit disheartened because maybe they're not destined to get engaged since all these amazing, elaborate engagement situations keep failing. So there's a lot of drama with that. And we also have McKenna with a lot of emotional baggage in the past, which explains why she's fixated on her sister needing to be taken care of. And Nate has his own problems and his own emotional baggage, and he's got this new job to start in Buffalo, New York, and he needs to move from Brooklyn, and so he ends up at his mum's B&B, and that doesn't go as smoothly as he expected either. So there's a lot of things going on in this story, and I absolutely loved it. It was such a fun rom-com, and the dynamics between Nate and McKenna were just so fun. They were just such a cute, sweet, and adorable couple, and their romance has a lovely, cute, and sweet story arc. And the absolutely ridiculous and awkward and disastrous meet cute that did involve kissing, and you can read the book to understand how that works. And the missing ring that effectively draws them back together because McKenna's got to find this ring. It was just so fun the way all that works out. And the mystery with the ring was really, really cool. I appreciated that. And we have some fabulous, quirky, and ridiculous side characters who I just loved. And the ensemble cast, it was just laugh out loud hilarious. There were so many moments where you just could not stop laughing because these characters were just adorably amusing. And we have all the small town hijinks and the dynamics that go with that. We've got these hilarious committee meetings in this small town in Tennessee, and these characters are they're really funny and they're really quirky, and it was an absolute delight to read. And as I said, we have multiple mistaken identity situations, which were really fun. And we've really got what I would call Becca Kinzer trademark humor in this book, which is really drawing on a lot of situational rom-com story elements that were just so fun, and I just loved it. So my favorite book quote in the story is this one. You have a father who absolutely delights in you and will never stop wanting to claim you as one of his own. And we're talking about one of the main characters here who's saying this to the other main character. So this is McKenna and Nate talking. And they've both had difficult relationships with either a father in their life or an absent father. And this is really looking at how trusting God, their heavenly father, can be quite challenging because of the situations with their earthly fathers. And I would describe this one as having relevant faith elements, and they're pretty light on the page, which isn't unusual for a rom-com. I don't often expect to see strong faith elements in a rom-com, but the faith elements that were there were very organic and relevant to the story, which I really appreciated. And it touches on forgiveness themes and overcoming fears and trust issues, and also abandonment issues get raised as well. So, in terms of the impact on me, this story was laugh out funny and ridiculous. I just loved it. There were many poignant moments as well where I really did think about a few things in a bit more depth, and there was that light and shade that you often will get in a rom-com as well, where there's a lot of really fun, ridiculous stuff happening, but there are some serious moments. And the characters had some emotional baggage that they needed to deal with in the story, and I appreciated how that was handled. So, in summary, I would recommend this book to readers who like laugh out loud situational rom-coms that have a really adorable, quirky cast of characters. To readers who like the small town hijinks and the drama that goes with that. And if you like a little twist on the fake dating and mistaken identity tropes, you'll like this one. If you like rom-coms where there's misunderstandings and miscommunications primarily generated and related to the side characters, then you'll enjoy this one. And if you like rom-coms that have relevant faith elements that include trust and forgiveness themes, then you'll enjoy this one as well. Thanks for joining me today. Does Not What We Pictured by Becca Kinzer sound like a book that you'd like to read? Have you read it? What did you think? You can let me know. If you're listening at the podcast, you can send me a text via a link at the show notes. If you're watching at YouTube, you can like the episode and leave a comment at YouTube. You can also email me at my website where I have a contact form, and you'll find that at narelleatkins.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. And you can do that at your favorite podcasting app, or you can subscribe at YouTube, and then you'll get a notification when the next episode drops. And also, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share the link with a friend, especially a friend who likes reading contemporary romance and rom-coms, and a friend who you think would enjoy reading Becca's books. Now, let's talk about the giveaway. So, I have one paperback copy to give to a reader that has a USA mailing address. The giveaway will close on the 4th of May, and that's USA West Coast time, which is actually the 5th of May in Australia, but I'm giving you the USA times for the people who'll be entering from the US. And in terms of how to enter, there'll be a link to the show notes to enter at my website. So, thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.